Hi everyone and welcome back to Poised for Making. This is a place where I make it happen and hopefully encourage you to do the same. I am still in San Antonio, Texas at home for summer break and my room is almost done. I don't know. If you watched the last episode you might remember I'm kind of trying to redo my room. We're done painting and I've started to put up some decor. So very exciting. Anyway, I've got a lot of projects to show you today, some new things, some old things, and some ideas for the future. So let's get right into it. So my makeup today is my pink girly knits bra top that I was working on last week. Didn't have a whole lot going on last week, but since it's mostly just stockinette and a round, I was really able to crank it out. So again, I did make a couple modifications to the pattern. I've done this before and I thought it would work out especially great for this yarn because I had no idea how much yardage I had and it has since been discontinued. This is Bernat denim style yarn. So it's mostly this dusty pink color, but then it's got like white going throughout. But what I did to accommodate for the fact that I have no idea what yardage I had, I did a provisional cast on at the bottom of the bust, and I did the right and left cups first, and then I picked up stitches from my provisional cast on and knit straight down with the same size needle instead of going down, which I'll explain why in a minute. But I really like doing that. I did that the last time I did this pattern because I feel like I have more control over the top. I know I can go as long as I want and not have to worry about if I'm gonna have enough to do the actual cups. It's kind of like doing a top-down sweater. Bottom up, it's kind of hard to gauge, you know, when you have to start doing increases or decreases or whatever. For me, I would just rather convert it to do the cups and then be able to go down until I run out of yarn. And that's pretty much exactly what I did. Instead of doing the ribbing all over, like I said, I stayed with the larger recommended needle size because I felt like this yarn was really bulky. And I thought a smaller needle size would just make it really thick and hot, and that's not really what you want for a tank top. Then instead of doing the all over ribbing, I just did ribbing kind of on the side seams, which you can barely see. I just did a little panel of it, and that's all. And again, because this yarn is so variegated, you can barely even tell where the ribbing is. So honestly, I'm kind of indifferent about the ribbing in this case. I think with solid colors, the ribbing on this pattern is really beautiful. It gives it some texture, but this yarn does not really need help in the texture department. So the other thing I did different is at the bottom I did 2x2 ribbing in a solid white yarn, and again I think I used the smaller size needles for this ribbing, but it's just 2x2, and when I'm holding it up, the ribbing at the bottom kind of like flips up weird and looks funny. But when it's on and the top is more stretched out, it actually lays pretty flat against my skin and it looks really nice. The other thing I did is instead of making one strap, I made two for each side. So if I hold it up on the back, you can see I have one strap on each side going straight down, and then I have longer straps forming an X. And I just think it's a really interesting twist. I made the straps not by doing a knitted I-cord, but by doing this kind of weird crochet I-cord-ish technique where you use two strands and you're basically making a crochet chain inside of crochet chain. I have no idea how to explain it. I have no idea what it's called. I will link to a tutorial down below. I just saw it on Pinterest, thought it would work perfect, and I like the thinner straps that it made. They're thin, but they still have some pretty good structural integrity, I guess you could say. And then to attach them to the different anchor points, I actually crocheted like 3 stitches across for 4 rows or something, and then attach them to the top of that just to kind of help ease the transition from the knitting into these really thin straps. And I did the same on the back, and I think that helps anchor everything down also. So that is my finished object. I like how it looks. It's really comfortable. It is a little too warm for the weather right now, but I think once it cools down a bit, or maybe once I go back to Ohio, it'll be nice to wear out because it won't be too hot outside or too cold inside, like in the AC. But right now in Texas, it's a little too thick. But it is really cute. I like how it looks. I like how it turned out. And it was a pretty fast and simple project. Now for makes on the way, I made some progress on my Sophies Universe Afghan, and by some I mean quite a bit actually. I think last time I was here-ish, and I am all the way up here. I'm in the middle of part 9 of the pattern. I haven't worked on this much in the past like 3 weeks. I just needed a break. But I have the 4 corner flowers done, and they look really nice, and I'm really happy with how it's coming along. I got a lot done in like 2 weeks, and then I just set it down and started working on something else and haven't really picked it back up since. But I think once I'm done with my next project, I'm gonna get back on the saddle with this and try to make another big dent in it. It is a really awesome pattern. Again, this is the Sophies Universe by Deidre Use. It is a crochet pattern that changes every single round, has a lot of texture, has a lot of color, and is a really amazing pattern. I am by no means a master crocheter at all, but I've been able to figure out how to do most of it. And throughout the pattern, Deidre has links to different tutorials for some of the weird stitches. And then there are also tutorials on specific rounds of the blanket, like this 3D rose situation. So if the written instructions aren't enough, there are lots of resources to help you get through it. And I have been taking advantage. So most of this yarn is Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek Solids from Hobby Lobby, but some of it is random stash yarn. All of the white is random stash yarn that I had that I just want to get through, and then this purple, kind of more neon-y purple compared to everything else, was a stash yarn, and I'm actually out of it now, so it's just going to be in the middle, and then the rest will be the soft and sleek colors. I have this dark gray, this lighter gray, and then white, and the white is stash, but I have a dark purple and a medium purple. And then I also bought another lighter purple color because I thought maybe it would help since this is gone, but obviously these are 2 very different colors, so I don't know. I still think this is a nice color and it goes with the color scheme, so I might throw it in at some point. But regardless, I'm loving how this is going. It's getting really big. It's getting big enough that when I'm working on it, I can actually, let me tilt you down some, I can actually lay it on my lap and be warmed by it. have my legs warm while I'm working on it. And then once I finish the side, I just kind of rotate, drape it back down on my lap, and keep on going. And that's been kind of nice because it can function as a blanket also, sort of, as I'm going. Now that it's big enough. I would say it's about 3 feet across, 3 or 4. I have no idea. Oh, you're looking at the wrong side. Oops. Okay, here we go. It's like 3 or 4 feet across. It's really big, but I still really love it. Like I said, every round is different, so never a dull moment with this pattern. I'm excited to work on it some more, get back to working on it, and I'm excited for the finished product. I think it's going to be really nice. I'm really happy with my color choices, and I'm happy with how I'm managing my colors so far. Some of the different Sophies Universe cowls manage colors in different ways. Some of them have a lot of colors, and there's some that are in solid colors. I have, I think, a total of like 5 or 6 colors, and as I go, I've been kind of mapping out what colors I want for each round as I start each part of the pattern, if that makes sense. And it hasn't steered me clear. I do feel like there are a couple spots where there's like random blocks that aren't really broken up, but overall I'm pretty happy with how I'm managing the colors, and I am super excited to have the finished thing, but I know it's gonna be a while before that actually happens, but that's okay. It's still been a really fun process, and since I've taken a break from it, I feel like, you know, distance makes the heart grow fonder. I'm excited to get back to work on it. The project that has been taking time away from my universe is the road trip shawl, because I am almost done with it. Last episode I showed you the yarn that I wanted to use, and this episode I am almost done with it. I've got, this is the beginning, this is like part 1, and then here's part 2, and I am actually in part 3. So I'm almost done with this. I'll probably finish this up this week and then jump headfirst back into my universe Afghan. But I love this. I love the colors. I love all the textures. I'm very excited to be able to wear the finished object, and I am loving working with this yarn. So last time I showed you all my different yarns. I think they were still in skeins. I have since balled them all up, except for the purple, which we'll get to in a minute. But this is a natural undyed alpaca yarn from Legendary Alpaca Farm. So this is, I think it qualifies as a farm yarn. This is all I have left of the skein. I have a second skein. I don't think I'm gonna have to crack into it because I am almost done with the shawl, and it just calls for a little bit more of this. So I think I'm gonna be okay, but I think I'm gonna be cutting it close. That is my color C. Color B is another 100% alpaca from an alpaca farm. This is from Red Hill Fiber Mill and Alpaca Farm. So they have collected this yarn from their alpacas and spun it in-house and dyed it in-house. It's a really beautiful, like, lavender, lilac, and pink. There's bits of hot pink in here. There's bits of more blue. Really, really beautiful yarn. What I have noticed, though, is this yarn has some vegetable matter in it still. Like, here's a little bit right here. Like some little pieces of dry hay and stuff, which I don't really mind. I just kind of pick it out as I go. But this yarn is beautiful, doesn't have anything in it, but it leaves a lot of fuzz. So I've kind of got some pros and cons happening over here. But in the shawl, they are playing really, really nice together. And of course, as I've picked out the grass, it is fine. And the purpley yarn, once it's knit up, it's not as like sheddy. It doesn't shed once it's knit up. So I'm kind of fine with it. It's just kind of inconvenient to work with. Sometimes I wouldn't say I dislike working with it at all, either one of them, but sometimes it does get a little old. That's just me. And then my color A is this commercial yarn. This is Yarn Bee Authentic Hand-Dyed Tonal. So it is merino instead of alpaca, but I thought the dark purple would look really nice to kind of tone down the two brighter colors I had, and I definitely think it's doing its job. It's just enough to bring it down a notch, and I really appreciate it. And I think there's gonna be another section of it up here once I'm done with this solid pinky purple section. So I'm very excited for that shawl. I love the colors. You might have gathered I love purple, and I'm excited to wear it because it is really soft and really warm, and it just looks really interesting because of all the different textures throughout. So very excited for that. Another thing that I have is I definitely think every knitter, if you can, should have a pair of socks ready to go. So I have a sock on the needles. This is the Rose City Rollers sock, which I feel like is a favorite among knitters. It's a really good basic short sock pattern. So as you can see, this is my first sock. I have the ribbing, the heel flap, and the turn and gusset done, and now I'm just working on the foot. Both of these yarns, this green and then this tan up here, is secondhand yarn that was gifted to me without a label. So I have no idea what it is. I just know it's fingering weight. So I'm making a pair of socks out of it. And I don't have a ton of green. I don't know if I have enough for... I knew I wouldn't have enough for a full pair of socks, so I thought I'll do shorties, I'll do contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs, and I think it'll be enough for both of them. If not, then one sock is just gonna have some more tan than the other, and I'm okay with that too. But just not super exciting, I guess, just a basic sock pattern. I keep it in my purse when I'm out running errands or doing whatever, going to doctor's appointments, just because it's pretty mindless, especially now that I'm on the foot part. It's just around and around and around. So nothing super crazy to write home about there. Now, my plans for my next project is I want to make a color blocked cardigan with a bunch of green yarn that I have in my stash. Most of it is acrylic, all of it is worsted weight, and it's some variation of greens. You might have seen I made a little yarn shelf for myself, and I tried to put it kind of in rainbow order. And what I figured out is I have a lot of blue and green yarns, but I don't make a lot of things with blue and green yarns. Maybe that's why they're still on my shelf and not in projects, but I wanted to come up with a project that I would enjoy wearing that would use some of those yarns. So I'm going to make the estuary cardigan. It is designed to have 2 colors. I'm going to try to do 3 or 4. I'm going to try to do that by having a contrasting button band and sleeve cuffs, and then I might also get crazy and add pockets that are another color, because like I said, I have like 5 different kinds of green yarn, green, blue yarn that needs a home, and I think an estuary cardigan is gonna look really nice with the different colors. So thank you everybody for joining me. I'm excited to see you all next month. Hopefully I have some finished objects or at least one to show you, and that new sweater going. Again, you can find me here on YouTube as Poised for Making and on Ravelry as Lady of Greenwood. I'll link all of my project pages down below. And within each project page, I have the patterns and the yarn that I'm using. I think except for the Sophies Universe cowl, I have the yarn linked, but not every single colorway. I think I have the different colorways in a comment, or not a comment, a note on the project page though. So if you're looking for the colorways, it'll be in the notes instead of in 4 or 5 separate yarn links. Anyway, thank you once again for joining me, and don't forget to do your best to keep being creative, do what makes you happy, and keep on making it happen.